Anything that has to be done out?
Good morning, Tehillah.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Oh, basket.
That's probably more dirty and disgusting. Come on, go on, throw it in. Get like a 5.
Are you in Guelph?
I'm in Toronto right now.
Toronto.
Yeah.
In Thornhill?
Yes,
Yeah.
the best.
Good
You're better
morning.
than Russian thing, however.
How are you?
Just not do it when you're really how to actually speak Russian, not just read it.
Bracha Simcha. Yes, you are. Sarah from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Sarah, what's happening in Ukraine? Huh? Sarah Milligan. And Sophia. Sophia means wisdom. And Tova. I know it. I know Tova's here. Okay. Well, dress warmly, girls. Don't be fooled. Like I was. Just went across the road very briefly. Without getting all dressed up. Went outside. And then it started. You could feel it going step by step by step by step. Now we're on the coming out the other side. I thought I was going to lose my voice altogether.
What? When did it start?
Start Thursday. It started with just a little tickle in the back. Then it became a runny nose. And the post-nasal drip gets into your lungs. Then you get congested. Then you get a cough. Then you get a fever. So go step by step. Leah, right? Leah from Brazil. The other Leah, second Leah. A few more layers, we could have a layer cake.
I got it now.
Layer Rappaport. Till, are you coming?
I'm coming back soon, God willing. Soonish.
What? Tuesday a fast day. They're going to tell you all about it. It's the shortest fast, but it's the most serious. Another fast, even Tisha B'Av comes on Shabbos, you don't fast. But if the 10th day of teves comes on Shabbos, you have to fast. You know why it's so serious? Nothing happened. Nobody got killed. It's such a serious fast because that's when it started. So the Rebbe says, if they had only done tshuva on that day, the temple wouldn't have been destroyed. Nobody would have been hurt. Everything would have been good. Okay, Tova did me a big Tova. Thank you. I really appreciate this. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's get moving. Chapter 4. Attila, do you have a text there with you?
I do.
You notice how I raise my voice when I talk to you? It's like you're far away. I have to talk louder.
I can hear you loud and clear, Rabbi.
You can.
Hi, Kayla.
Everybody misses you.
Wait, what's your exam?
Hi. I miss all of you a lot. I can't wait to come back.
When was the exam?
It was, I don't remember, December something. It passed.
Did you
Did you-
pass?
I don't know yet. God willing.
What's her exam in?
Her licensing exam for
Speech.
speech therapy.
Speech therapy. Oh. She speaks very nicely.
Rabbi, do you need some tea for your cough?
What?
Do you need some tea?
I have, thank you. Honey. Hot water and honey. Leave out this. And I'm taking a lot of vitamin C. That's why I fought off the COVID.
We have a vitamin box in our room. So when all the girls need vitamins, they
You have vitamin what?
we have a vitamin box, vitamin C, vitamin D,
Oh, a box. Oh,
zinc.
Yeah. My vitamin D level used to be at a 12.
Oh,
It's supposed to be at least a 30.
right. We were on page 80. We came to this point of understanding that there are 200, the human being is made in the divine image. What is the divine image? This is an incredible idea. Fantastic idea that the divine image of God is the 613 commandments. And if God would be in a human form, you would see a human being keeping all the 613 commandments. And everything he would do would be a godly thing. And this is the image of God. Only ever since everything has a spiritual source, so that is the spiritual form of God. But like we have a body, and our body has a soul, an inner life. So even this form of the 613 commandments has a soul and an inner life, which is the essence of God himself, which is much higher than all of them. I hope that's clear, that we don't really make an image, a physical image of Hashem in any way. But this is, like intellectually speaking, this is the image of God. And once we know that the soul needs garments, so then it comes out that the garments of the soul are what we do and what we say and what we think. And these, in turn, can be recategorized according to the midas that we've studied what these midas are in chapter 3. We have chesed and gevurah and teferes. Netzach HaYesod. We discussed all of them at length. If you need to discuss them again, then we're going to have to stop and do it again. So you'll let me know. Chesed, kindness, is the beginning of everything. And chesed is also the source of the feelings of love that we have for Hashem. And then we learned just on the previous page here that this is the source of all the 240 positive commandments, because without the feeling of love for Hashem, we're not going to do them. And for key on page 79, ki hamakayimam be'emes, a person who truly keeps the commandments of the Torah, this person is someone who ohev es Shem Havahi. He keeps them because he loves Hashem. V'chafetz tzedavka boy, and he wants to be connected to Hashem, truly and completely connected to Hashem. How can you connect to Hashem? You can't embrace him. You can't put your arm around Hashem, but you can do a mitzvah. And when you do a mitzvah, he's going to say in the end of this chapter, when you do a mitzvah, it's similar to a king embracing a person that he loves. And when you do a mitzvah, it's like you are embracing the king. And the mitzvah is the garment that the king is wearing, and you're wearing the same garment. There's an image for this that I really like very, very much. It was conceived by a non-Jewish poet. And he put it this way, he said, you cannot, when you go to the, if any of you ever do this, you go to the ballet and you watch a dance. So what are you watching? You're watching, Rudolph Nureyev, famous dancer, or are you watching the dance? Or are you watching the brilliant choreography of the person who designed the dance? And the answer is you're watching all of them. And you cannot tell the dancer from the dance. So in terms of the mitzvahs of the Torah, you are the dancer. And the mitzvah you do is the dance. Lighting a Shabbos candle, giving charity, keeping kosher, greeting people with a warm smile, learning Torah. These are all movements in the dance. And you are the dancer. Now the dance and the dancer become one. Who is the choreographer? That's Hashem. So the dance and the dancer and the choreographer, the conceiver of the dance, they all become one. You cannot distinguish them. So that's why love of Hashem is the source of all of the positive mitzvahs, because the positive mitzvahs are the dance. The negative mitzvahs are things we don't do. How do you perform a negative mitzvah? Here's Anna. And Sarah Mora came in very quietly. Negative mitzvahs you don't do. You have pizza, and half an hour later, someone comes along with some chocolates. You don't eat it because it's fleshik and you're milchik, or vice versa. You just don't do it. So, which is higher? Good question. You might think the positive mitzvahs are higher because they express your love of Hashem. You're doing something. You are expressing your love. Negative mitzvahs, you don't do anything. So it seems like positive mitzvahs are higher. You're doing something. You're doing something constructive. However, from another point of view, it's the opposite. Because a positive mitzvah, you only can do it at the moment you're doing it. So negative mitzvah has no limit whatsoever. You don't do anything. From this point, positive mitzvahs come from chesed, that's what we're learning here. Love is the root of all of the 248 mitzvahs, page 79, that's what we were just reading this. They issue forth from your feeling of love, which is from chesed in your character. And without this love, the mitzvah has no true reality, no true substance. Ein behem kiyum amiti. They don't have any true reality. Ki hamakayim an be'emes, because if a person truly keeps mitzvahs, who is this person? It is a person, ha'ohev Hashem avai. He does it because he loves Hashem. V'chafetz l'davka boy, and his greatest desire is to be connected to Hashem. Be'emes, completely, truthfully, and constantly. We have to think about that. We have to meditate on that. We have to think about it until it becomes part of our whole vision of ourselves in this world, so that we if we're constantly trying to be connected to Hashem, Hashem is constantly in our thoughts, then we're constantly going to be doing things that connect us to Him, which is mitzvahs. So you become a mitzvah explorer, staking out a claim in this dark world for king and country, and our king is Hashem. Like the explorers, you land on uncharted territory and you raise the flag of your king. You say a bracha. I claim this apple for the unity of God. Baruch atah Hashem, Bori Priyaitz. We have to think carefully when we say a bracha, what we're saying. The words are very profound. It's impossible to cling to Hashem in a true manner, be'emes, emes in truth, ki'im b'kiyam ramach pekudim, except through keeping the 248 commandments. Is that clear? Sarah Moore, you with me? You got it? The only way to cling to Hashem, for us to connect to Hashem, is through keeping the 248 commandments, most of which we cannot keep physically now. Because so many of them are connected with living in Israel, when all the Jewish people are living in Israel. Now, even those mitzvahs like Shemitah, which we keep in Israel, is only from the rabbis. So that we shouldn't forget what it's all about. But we can't really keep the mitzvahs until all the Jewish people are living there and the Beis Hamikdash is built. So we do an imitation, we do it according to the guidelines of the rabbis. So who do you think about? You think about somebody like the Rebbe. The Rebbe constantly is doing mitzvahs, constantly. A new book came out. I just bought this book, Hey Teves, called From the Rebbe's Pen. It's a wonderful book. It's answers of the Rebbe, how people come to the Rebbe with their problems and how he answers them. Very briefly, succinctly, and every expression is it's loaded with meaning. And one after the other, he's encouraging people, strengthening the good points in them, and pushing aside the negativity that the Yetzer Hara puts into them. Because that's where they write him, with their confusion and their anxiety. That's all from the Yetzer Hara. It's a very good book. She asked if they should get it for the library. The Rebbe's answers are usually very short, and they print up the answer in Hebrew, and then they translate it in English. And it answers so many questions that many people have. These are the questions that people ask the Rebbe. These are the questions everybody asks the Rebbe. Okay, and now we got to this idea, which is the most even an extraordinary idea, that if the 248 commandments are the way we cling to Hashem, the clinging is on a spiritual level is very real, because we have 248 limbs in our body, which correspond to the 248 commandments, which are called, in the Zohar it says that the 248 commandments are the limbs of the king. Every Demalka. They are the limbs of the king. So it's like putting your 5 fingers into a glove that has 5 fingers. This is the image of Hashem. You are making yourself over by keeping mitzvahs. You are making yourself over in the image of Hashem. Turning over onto page 80, that's chesed, love. And gevura, on the other side, is fear. Now we come up with the idea that in every pagisa, there's always going to be somebody who says, why do I have to be afraid of God? Why do I have to be afraid? Why do I have to serve God with fear? Just take another sip of this. This is, Sarah, this is not tea. This is honey, hot water and honey.
Best milk and honey, hot milk and honey.
A land flowing with
Milk.
milk and honey. Well, honey is a natural healing. A lot of people don't know this. I once cut my hand very severely. It was a real terrible cut. And somebody told me at that point, put honey on it. I did. There's no scar.
Do you think I could put honey on my head now?
You can put honey is a wonderful miracle medicine. Page 80. Va'ayira hisharshas l'shasam mitzvahs leisaseh. The 365 negative mitzvahs we saw yesterday, 248 plus 365 adds up to 613. The 248 mitzvahs correspond to the limbs of the body, and they correspond to the spiritual limbs of Hashem, which are the 248 positive commandments. And the 365 negative commandments, thou shalt not do this or that, they correspond to 365 gidin. What are gidin? Gidin are tough sinews that hold the structure together. They hold the human body together. And in different places, the word is also translated as veins. So they both have two, both Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, both of these things are the words of the living God. They're both right. You know, there were two people arguing once, and a third person came along. They said, what do you say? Who's right? He said, what's the argument? So the first guy tells him his point of view. He says, I think you're right. And the second guy says, wait a minute, you didn't hear my point of view. He tells him, he says, oh, you know, I think you're right. He says, well, how can you both be right? How can you both be right? He says, you're also right. Elu ve'elu, it's like a diamond, has many facets, many sides. So Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, they're both true, that the 365 Gidin hold the whole structure together, and the 265 are like vein systems. They keep the system pure and clean. Anti-pollutants. We don't want to pollute the system by doing so. Therefore, used to be, if you fell, if a child like mine, when I was a child, if I fell and scraped my knee, my mother, God bless her, would put iodine on. Oh, I love the iodine. You bet, it's like a toothache.
Rather honey.
Yeah, no, but to clean out to kill the germs, you put iodine, and the iodine bottle was in the medicine cabinet, which was over the sink in the bathroom, and it was a little bottle, and on the bottle was a skull and crossbones, warning you, don't drink this. It warned us that it's poison. Well, the negative mitzvahs are the negative mitzvahs. The Torah says this is a negative mitzvah. Don't do it. That's a skull and crossbones. This is going to kill you. It's not going to be good for you. There may be somebody who will tell you it is going to be good for you. That's called a pusher, right? But you shouldn't be a pushover. We can't do the 365 negative mitzvahs because they are pollutants. They are highly radioactive. They will destroy you. So one level of fear is that we're afraid of punishment. That if we do a negative thing, there's going to be what we call negative consequences. You're not going to like it. So we don't do a negative mitzvah because we're not going to like the consequences. Somebody gets on your nerves and it bothers you once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. You can't hold yourself in and you let them have it. You'll always regret it. Better do a negative mitzvah and keep your mouth shut. The angry words that you want to say, that you don't say, you should know. I saw this in a medrash. The words of anger that you don't let yourself say are like precious gems in the crown of Hashem. They're very precious to Hashem, more than your best mitzvahs. You can share that with your chat group.
Can you say it again?
Huh?
Can you say it again?
I can
I
say
only
it
got
again.
halfway.
The angry words that you don't say,
Mhm.
when you're really boiling angry and you don't say it, those are words are like precious gems in the crown of Hashem. Those words are very precious to Hashem. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what you want to say, and you didn't say it. It's more than the best drasha you ever made, the best class you ever gave.
Why did you read a midrash? Should I quote you or the midrash?
Huh?
Should I quote you or the midrash?
You could say that Dr. Pape said this from the Midrash.
Which goes first, the doctor or the rabbi?
I'm not a rabbi. They called me a rabbi because I'm a teacher. I'm not a rabbi.
My mind is blown, first of all.
What?
You just give such like rabbi energy. It's a good thing.
Whatever that is. Okay, I hope that I.
So should I just say, good morning, doctor? How are you?
No, it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. Just
All right.
leave off the titles.
Good morning. Okay. I'll rework it for tomorrow.
So that's one level of fear. We fear negative consequences. You don't go through the red light because you get a ticket. You don't go through the red light because you could hurt somebody, you could kill somebody. Like the story I told you last day. But there's a deeper level of fear. Well, first there's a level of fear of just integrity. Just integrity, self-respect. You don't do negative things because it's the right thing to do. You go to the bank and somebody leaves $100, takes all his money, and one note, he leaves there $100 on the sill, on the ledge. And nobody sees it, and you're the only one who sees it. And you can put it in your pocket. You don't do it because you turn to this. I think he left this here. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Just honesty. So that's a level of fear. That's discipline. Also, if you know that Hashem doesn't like something, but it's very attractive to you to do it, and you don't do it just because you know that Hashem disapproves of it. Like it says here, you don't want to break the law, which is Hashem's law. You want to be a law-abiding person. And since you've learned these laws, you came to the Machon, you learned what the laws are, how you keep Shabbos, how you do it, and you don't want to break the law. Experience may teach you when you do break a law and then bad things happen, you say, yeah, I know why that's happening. That's happening to me because, etc., because I did this, because I did that. And that started the whole negative process going, which eventually comes back at me. I remember when I was just getting interested in Yiddishkeit, I read about this experiment with pith balls. You know what pith balls are? They're kind of something, sort of like, you know what flutterboards are for when you're swimming?
Yeah,
Styrofoam. It's like
okay.
styrofoam.
Yeah.
So you take a little bit of styrofoam and you put it at the end of a string. And you tie the string to a rod. Okay. Now you take an ebony rod and you rub it with cat's fur and you apply a negative charge. That puts a negative charge on the pith ball. And now you put another pith ball on this rod. So the pith ball with the negative charge is going to push away the other pith ball. And the other pith ball now is turning around, it's going to come back and exert a force on the first pith ball. In other words, you see physically that what goes around comes around. When you do something negative to hurt and it hurts somebody else, you may think that's the end of the story, but it's not. That somebody else will be affected by what you did, and that when they will be behaving in such a way that they affect somebody else, and they will affect somebody else, and they will affect somebody else, and eventually somebody else who got this negative jab is going to come and give it back to you. That's the way the world runs. One thing leads to another. One good deed leads to another good deed, and one not good deed leads to another not good deed. So therefore, we want to be, just out of respect for this system, we're not afraid of being punished, but we know that it's the proper thing to do is the proper thing to do. You can't argue with that, right, Sarah Milligan? You could quote me on that. The proper thing to do is the proper thing to do.
Got it.
Okay, that's not a medrash. So here he says that the 365 commandments are on one level. We want to do the proper thing before Hashem. Since we know Hashem thinks this is the proper thing to do, we want to do the proper thing to do. We don't want to rebel against the Supreme King of Kings, Holy One, blessed be He. What should I say? Shabbos, I was walking home, this poor fellow who takes drugs was on President Street taking off his clothes. Poor fellow. He takes drugs and he's totally deranged, doesn't know what he's doing. A normal person wouldn't want to do that. He wouldn't want to do it. You don't go to the palace of the king and take off your clothes. You put on your best clothes. You don't want to rebel against Hashem because you're in the presence of Hashem. Or it goes on a deeper level. You're a panemius mizu. A deeper level is a person is ashamed. If a policeman came along to this person who was taking off his clothes and said, "Young man, what are you doing?" There's a policeman standing over him. He'd be ashamed. Or how about if a lady came along who was the wife of one of the respectable Hasidim who lived on the street and says, "What are you doing?" He'd just be ashamed before the greatness of Hashem, to know that Hashem is looking at you. So it says, if a person will remember that there's an eye that sees, it used to be a philosophical idea. Now we know that there are cameras everywhere. Everything is being videotaped. Every house has a camera going the whole time. When a crime is committed, the police go around to different houses and they examine the videotapes and they see who did it. They arrest him. I know a young man, very tragic story, very nice young man, was in California. He opened the door of his car and some person was speeding and went by and hit him and killed him. He's the son of a friend of mine. How did they know? And it was hit and run. How did they find out? They checked the video cameras of different stores on the street. They got the car and the license number and everything. So if a person will remember an eye that sees and an ear that hears and all your deeds written in a book, you'll never come to do a sin. Ethics of the Fathers. Remember 3 things, you'll never come to do a sin. So if a person knows that Hashem is watching him the whole time, he won't want to rebel. He'll be ashamed in front of Hashem. Or let's say Okay, this is true confessions. Yeah, that if I have to think of examples, I'm thinking it's true confessions. A bus goes by with an advertisement, a big advertisement on the side of the bus, or that's not modest, or the places where these is the worst places are the airports. Fortunately, I don't travel very much. The last I was in an airport, though, and the time before that, you can't look anywhere. There are these big, huge, immodest pictures and videos playing the whole time, advertising all the forbidden delights of the world. And if you cast a glance, you sneak a glance at something, and it's not your fault. If you see it, it's not your fault. But when you look a second time, that's your decision. Then that's your action. Then you did it. Okay. And then you remember, oh gosh, this is on camera. Hashem sees all this. So you feel ashamed. I wish I hadn't done that. I really wish I hadn't. What did I get out of it? Nothing. I don't get anything out of it. I just get a visual pollutant in me. Because once an image goes in, how do you get it out? We see all kinds of images in our youth because we're curious, then spend a lifetime trying to forget them. And they come back. Believe me, they come back and back and back and back. When you don't want them. So a person feels ashamed before the greatness of Hashem. Here's Hashem, so great, so good, the source of life in all the worlds. And what are you doing with the life that he gives to you? Ogling some image that you have no relationship to it, except it's just there to entice you. So a person on a deeper level feels ashamed before the greatness of Hashem. Limrace, to rebel against Eine Kavede, as you translate, all-seeing eyes of the glory of Hashem, Laseis hara ve'enav, and we don't want, you're not doing a sin, you just know you're not behaving right, and Hashem knows. So you discipline yourself, you hold yourself in. Call to teves Hashem, knowing that this is something that's disgusting to Hashem. A negative mitzvah is something, he says in English, abominable, disgusting. You know what they say in Beis Rivka? Nauseous. Yeah, it's a total misuse of the word. It's nauseous. The thing is nauseous. The thing is not nauseous. A person could be nauseous, means like seasick. but girls in Beis Rivka, they don't speak English all that well. Asher, and the teachers can't correct them because the teachers speak the same way. Asher, son, hey, aklippus, and what is it that's so nauseous in the eyes of Hashem? That is the klippa and sitra achra. Disgusting. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Disgusting. Oh, you do that. You can imagine a parent or an older sister saying, "Oh, grow up." What are you doing? What are you doing with yourself? So we have a lower level of fear. The lowest level of fear, we serve. So why do I have to serve God out of fear? Well, the lowest level is, you're right, you don't have. It's fear of punishment. You don't want to break the law, because when you break the law, it could lead to all kinds of physical negative consequences. But on a higher level, the negative consequences are spiritual. And that's a much higher level of fear, which causes an inner discipline, an inner restraint. And this is the keeping of the 365 negative mitzvahs that keep your spiritual system pure and uncontaminated. Asher need kasan, because you see, we're over our time. Okay. You see, the thing is like this, girls. This is that Hashem creates the world with a balance of good and evil. When and there's a certain amount of life in the evil forces. There has to be evil forces, because otherwise there's no challenge. So there are evil forces which are tempting you. If you give in to them, you channel your spiritual energy in their direction, into them. That's what it says. Asher Nikasam, the Yanika. Yanika is nurture, like a baby nurses from its mother. The Yanika of the negative forces is when a person makes the mistake of doing one of the 365 negative mitzvahs.
The school next door, the door between the schools.
Okay, sorry to end on a negative note like this, but we'll end on a positive note and say a bracha achrona. Have to remember always to say a bracha achrona. Say a bracha achrona on the exile. Thank you very much, girls.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, Tilly, we look forward to seeing you back. I'm sure you passed your exam.
Thanks. I hope so.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Hey. Hey. I didn't see you. Happy Monday. I woke up on time. I just couldn't rush to get
Tenemos ahora.
Why are we just buses the table? I'm over these tissues. Nope. They work. Oh no, I do that.
I'll be honest and just say it too. I'd rather do a good job than my cut.
Well, it's not a bad job.
Yeah, but I want to be thorough. Like, I want to actually learn.
I see mine.
Was she over here?
What? What?
Hi, guys.
It's like the Facebook. It's a
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh,